Aloha and welcome to Radical Love Podcast with me, Corey Beadle, where we're talking about how a revolution in love will transform your life. And I thought today I'd actually read, before I introduce our amazing guest, I was going to read the definition of radical love as I have kind of downloaded it from the infinite, if you will. So radical love, and why it's important to note is the guests on our podcast, they are heart-centered, powerful individuals who have decided and continue to decide for radical love for themselves, for others, and their challenges. So the concept of radical love is the idea and the practice of loving ourselves exactly as we are in this present moment. It's the decision to love our life exactly as it is and to love others exactly as they are. It's choosing to love even the difficult experiences, emotions, and false ideas that we have about ourselves and others. Because in doing so, there is an alchemy. There's actually an alchemy that we create that allows us to transcend our circumstances, our challenges, our conditions into an elevated awareness of the infinite power that exists within each of us. So I feel that, and I wanted to share that with you because just as a reminder of what we're doing here and the powerful conversations and chats we're having. So without further ado, I want to introduce our amazing guest today. Our guest is the president of Core Factor Transformative Coaching and is a certified life mastery consultant. She's passionate about helping entrepreneurs and professionals create their ideal results in both work and in their life for even more freedom, fulfillment, and prosperity. Now, she brings over 20 years of study in both personal growth and success principles to her clients, as well as having a very strong business background. Let me tell you about that. Well, her career includes 20 years in marketing and communications, business administration, and event planning for the Four Seasons Hotel in New York City, Christie's Great Estates, the real estate division of Christie's Auction House in Santa Fe, New Mexico. All of this, my goodness, so fierce. An international law firm in Washington, D.C., and an award-winning children's music school in Austin, Texas. And she's also a graduate of the University of Texas at Austin. So without further ado, please help me welcome the wonderful, powerful, lovely Stephanie Puente. Hello.
Hello.
How'd you like that intro?
Awesome. Thank you.
Can you feel that love?
I feel it.
Yay.
Yes.
So, thank you for coming on our podcast.
Thank you so much for this gift to get to be here. I'm so happy and grateful and privileged for this honor. So thank you.
My friend, it's such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure. So when we were talking about radical love and, you know, the different possible ways and directions in which we could go with regard to this topic, I know we're going to talk about where, you know, you are finding yourself and realizing what's really important for you in terms of where your true success lies, where you're having that awareness. And but I thought it might be great to kind of premise that with, you know, in our kind of pre-conversation a few days ago, we're talking about the awareness that is also coming because of the beauty of our ages. You know, I mean, gosh, think about when we were 30 and we're like, oh my gosh, 30. And now at the age of 42 for me and the beautiful age of 50, you just celebrated 50, we're talking about the awareness of what's really important and how we are radically loving ourselves as we have let's just say, also be clear, we have the gift of life, as you and I know. And, you as our mentor, Mary Morrissey, thought leader, transformational teacher for over 40 years, says, and reminds us, like, some people didn't wake up today. We have the gift of life. And yet we also live in a society which, although it is changing, there are still parameters in terms of I would say there's a bit of privileging with regard to youth and things like that. So for us to stand whole and strong in our ages, I think is so important to talk about, and it would be a nice way to preface this discussion. What do you think?
Sounds good. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, my friend?
Well, there's many things I think I could say, but the main thing is an awareness. I've always been a person who acknowledges the passage of time. And to come to the moment and recognize, like, this is an important moment. I'm not going to have this moment again, and I want to be present for it. And turning 50 was a big transition, and realizing, so many pivotal things that have happened, in one regard aren't going to happen again. And that the awareness of how quickly life passes, and that I want to experience as much as I can and be in the best mind frame that I can be in and be present. And so things that I have worried about in the past, I'm now much more conscious of. I want this next half of my life to be the very best that I've experienced thus far. And I want to approach every moment from a place of presence, from a place of, loving what is, and not wasting time on things that I have spent so much time in the past worrying about. So really not being afraid of this time, and not approaching like the second half of my life from a perspective of, wow, it's all over, but rather this is a whole new beginning, and I want to be present for it. So that's really one of the big things that I've made a decision on around turning 50, and not seeing myself as, a certain age or a certain look, but that I live and choose to live a vibrant, healthy, joy-filled life. And I'm grateful that I am using this time to be present.
Yes, yeah. Sister. Truly, though, I mean, I want to just shine the light of recognition on the fact that, and this is, everybody's doing the best they can. So it's not wanting to come from a place of judgment, because again, we are, you and I, we both believe that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And that means we are navigating human conditions and situations and challenges. And one of those can be, for some women, they feel the need to hide their age. So with radically loving, knowing that that's where they feel more comfortable, I also want to just really shine that light on, girl, you were like, I'm 50 and I'm having a big party. You had a huge party,
Yes, I did.
And you had a great time, I believe, right? It was a beautiful night.
I did. I used that as an opportunity to bring together people that I loved, and to really celebrate my life. And I love what you said about, not hiding. I mean, I've hidden for so long out of fear of, keeping myself small, distracting myself so that I felt like I was afraid to take up space. Wow. And having that party and really celebrating myself and my life, and that I, there's so much love that's in my life. And I want to celebrate that. And I want to be stronger, more vibrant, more healthy, more present than I've been in times past. So I don't feel any need to hide who I am or hide my age, but rather really celebrate loudly, moving into this next phase of my life from a place of youth and vibrancy. So because that's my energy I'm choosing.
Yes. I'm writing this down because I want to make sure that we touch on that. That's a huge transformation in your thinking, which only could occur from your decision. It was a decision, okay, because, we know if we're not, as Emerson said, standing guard at the, the doorway or the door of our mind or the portal to our mind, anything's going to get in there. And the majority, I believe, of what's out there, again, it's changing. I'm affirming that, but also I'm not ignoring the facts that there is that that belief of a hierarchy in terms of like youth is privilege, as I mentioned. And so for you to make the decision that I'm not going to just I'm going to put a filter up. And yes, there may be things that are occurring, and some people may say this about a woman who's 30, much less 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. And while we do have our wonderful revolutionary radical sister, role models like Oprah Winfrey and Mary Morrissey and Marianne Williamson and and so on and so forth, who are saying, hey, whenever I'm 50, I'm 65, I'm 70, and I'm loving and living life. It was still a conscious decision on Stephanie's part.
Yes.
It was still there. I know there was still effort and heavy lifting involved for you to transform from saying, I'm amazing. Thank you for being so transparent, saying at one point I was afraid to take up space. Wow. I just know that there's so many beautiful souls listening to this, and it could be both female and male, feminine and masculine, in terms of gender and transgender. So it's not limited to just women, but I think predominantly afraid to take up space to where you are now, which is, I'm going to celebrate loudly, is what you said. Wow. And true. Like, you were saying, I'm going to have a party and I'm going to invite all my loved ones and to share this moment in time with them, to celebrate where I am, to celebrate the life I've created, to take up some space and to know I deserve to take up some space. And it's a beautiful space that you create in that way.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And part of the decision, I think that awareness of, gosh, time is passing. And I have invested so much time in keeping myself small, in worrying, in not being present. And with that awareness of the number, so to speak, like clarity on, wow, I'm at a certain point now, and moving forward from here, do I want to keep investing in that way of thinking? And no, I don't. And as you mentioned earlier, that we're breathing today. Life has us here. Today is a gift. More and more, setting aside anything other than I want to just, now is my time. I want to appreciate this moment. Today is a gift. And I want to set aside those things that kept me from loving myself, as well as letting love in, because I was distracted. And I want to be present now for what really matters. So those are all those are just some of the examples around the decision of, this is what loving me and letting love in and loving my life looks like today. And it was by turning 50 that helped me kind of be more intentional about it.
I love it. You even reminded me of what came to mind is sometimes I will do this with my students when I was teaching gender construction, and I would just model sitting, and I'd say, okay, tell me when I'm sitting this way, do you think I am a female or a male? Or sometimes I would use the words in terms of gender roles, gender versus sex, but say, am I a woman or a man? And I would sit, kind of properly with my legs crossed. And then, okay, oh, you're a girl, you're a woman. And then I, wearing jeans or something, but I would just sit laid back and my legs would be wide open. It's like spread open like this. They'd be like, you're a man, you're a dude. I'm like, that's right. And thinking about it, and it's that posture, taking up space, right? So we are rewiring and refiring thoughts that we have have been instilled in us through well-meaning adults, through a society in which they have these, socially constructed norms, but even in the way that we're taught to sit, right? Where the man generally is like, just like, I mean, if you could see my knees, they're like this right now, right? Like just almost completely. And then if the female is just like together. So it does take a consistent effort to not only the things that we think about we have now, but thinking about our whole history and rewiring and refiring. And it means the death of those old thoughts. Mm-hmm. As you know, in order for us to think new thoughts, those old thoughts have got to die, but they are fighting for life. Mm-hmm. They are fighting for life. And, when we've looked at different images of the brain and different experts on this, and we'll say, yeah, you can see the different, the neuronal connections. These neurons are connecting, but in order for you to have a new thought, this other thought has to die, and it is fighting. It is saying things like, well, do I really want to have this party at 50? Or whatever it said to Steffi. For me, it's saying, do you really want to, I don't know. Do you really want to go let your hair that's getting some grays? Do you want to go gray? No, you better dye your hair. So even within the framework of I am radically loving myself, there are still some things I do because I feel more comfortable. Like I'm gonna dye my hair. Whereas like I have a friend who is my age, 42, and she's gone gray. And when we were younger, at like around 16, she was already having the gray. So she's, been dyeing her hair since we were really young. And now she's just this beautiful, she calls herself the silver fox. And it's amazing. And also, it shouldn't, I wish it weren't this way, but it's brave, right? It's brave. Mm-hmm. There's so much to talk about there, but I just love how you went from, again, I'm afraid to take up space to I'm celebrating loudly my life, and that it's given you this recognition of, wow, and what do I want to do with the next 50 years? And how do I want to continue to radically love myself?
Yeah. And I think it starts with, yes, that it is a daily decision of being mindful of taking care of myself, letting myself rest, really exercising and pushing myself. My husband and I started working out with a personal trainer in May. And that has been such a great way to see how certain patterns. I've always been a person that has loved exercise, but in the last several years, having gotten older, I've been afraid of really hurting myself. So the minute I start feeling any kind of discomfort, I would just stop and not push it. And I'm learning how to work through that discomfort with the personal trainer. And he just recently said, you see yourself as a 5 or 10 pound person, but you are really a 25, 35 pound person. You can do more. You're stronger than you think. Wow. And I think that was so great because it helped me. What a great analogy in all of the other areas, how we feel discomfort and we just stop. And we believe like, I guess I'm just meant to be a 5, 10 pound person. But the truth is I am more than that, but we need others in our lives, to help us. But it started with that decision of like, I want to have greater health. I want to feel, strong. I want to, I want my body to feel good and I'm, deserving of this. And I want to set myself up for success moving forward. And so that's been a great experience. And it really has been just an ongoing decision on a daily basis of, whether I'm feeling afraid that day or not, to love where I am and that I know I'm more than that.
Yes, that's so beautiful. I love the way you connected it to not just the, within, as we know, there's 4 domains in life. So there's health, and you're connecting that, and you're telling a story about health. There's also relationships and vocation and time and money freedom. And as it has been said, I think it was our friend and colleague and teacher, Matt Boggs, who said, it's difficult to see the picture when you're in the frame. So it's difficult for you to see when you're in the frame that you're not a 5 or 10. And of course, you're referring to the weights that you're
lifting kettlebells.
It's like, wait, what are you talking about? So the weights that you're lifting, you're thinking, well, this is what I can do. I can do 5 or 10 pounds, and the expert says, oh no, Stephanie, there, and I know he didn't say this, but basically he's like a subtext. He's like, there is greatness in you. It's like, there is greatness in you. And you are, he said 25 or 35 pounds. Is that right?
Yeah.
Girl, that is so much. That's amazing. 3 times, 4 times. I mean, 5 times, you're thinking, if you're thinking 5 pounds and he's talking about, so I love that because does connect to the reminder that it's in all areas, in all domains, where we will have that comfort zone, or we think we know, but we're in the frame and we don't know. And so how beautiful that in that way your physical coach could serve you, just in the way that you and I get to serve our clients, and even just supporting our friends and family, and when the time is right and if it's okay to remind them, right, without being pushy, but to remind them of, you have infinite potential, you have infinite power. And so when he did that, did it actually it help to shift your mindset?
It did. I mean, it brought tears to my eyes from an awareness of like, wow, how seductive the fears are, and how that we need other people, to help us see beyond it, like outside the frame. And that even though I know, I'm doing something new and discomfort's going to be there. But when it came to the exercise, if I felt any kind of discomfort, I would just stop because I was afraid. But realizing like, I can push through it. I can walk through it. I can love myself through this discomfort. And that's the doorway into discovering that capacity that we are more than what that discomfort is telling us we can't do. And even though I know that in other areas of my life, this was like taking it to a whole nother level and bringing clarity to how easy it is to shy away from growing because it's uncomfortable.
Yes, I love that. It's another quote, a Stephanie Puente quote, is you love yourself through the discomfort. Loving yourself through the discomfort. And that is another tenet of what we do as Life Master consultants, as dream builder coaches, as individuals who are trained in these success principles, because we know, and it's not that we want to be uncomfortable just because we want to be uncomfortable, but we're being uncomfortable in the interest of growth. And it's such a great analogy. It's a pretty easy one because most of us understand how muscles work, I think, for the most part. But it is, and just recently, I know Rich Boggs was talking about this at our recent Dream Builder Live, and in terms of the reps. And when you're doing reps, and you're going to do 15 reps of something, when does the muscle actually grow? Because and he was like, at rep 16. You got to do, you're busted and you're tired. But it's that extra rep that takes us there. So it's great to be able to use that and think about, well, what is it with regard to, yes, my health, we know that works there, but with radical love, right? And loving ourselves when we're not maybe where we want to be physically. What do you think about that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, just the idea that I'm not yet where I am. I'm noticing today I'm not having the best workout, and I may be feeling on one level, at the practical level, I'm 50, I do need to be mindful of not pushing myself or hurting myself. But then even though that's practical and logical, I know that there's more there. And even though today's workout was difficult, I'm not going to let those practical, logical thoughts say, I guess that's it. I'm meant to stay right at this level. I can have discomfort. It can be hard today, but that has no bearing on what's possible tomorrow, and I can start fresh. And even though we're talking right now about working out, this analogy can be applied to everything, to my parenting, to my communication with my family, to the work that I'm building in the world. And I've got all these practical, logical facts and circumstances that can cause me to feel discomfort, and I can assign meaning to that, or I can choose to just love what is, love myself through the discomfort. And I like to say why it matters in this moment is because that is going to make welcome an answer and an idea and a solution that's in harmony with the result that I would love, which is greater fitness, greater connection and relationships, being a loving and supportive mom or family member. And it's okay to feel that discomfort and challenge through it. But loving ourselves in the moment is basically in alignment with the freer, fuller version of ourselves that we're calling in from that vision. And it's a process. So that's like what I've been working on lately. And that analogy around the working out, has been helpful to apply to these other domains of my life as well.
Yeah, I love that. Is another thing. It's another wonderful way to put when you said it's loving ourselves as we are, loving others as they are, loving our life as it is, because in your words, it makes welcome, right? You're making welcome. And I was calling that, and I'm calling that, in doing that, we create that alchemy, right? So whether we're saying it's making welcome ideas and solutions and action steps, or we're saying it's an alchemy that, creates that awareness that allows us to transcend, transmute circumstances. Again, things that we're downloading, things that are coming to us and through us from infinite intelligence, whatever, for everyone and anyone who's listening, it's whatever word we prefer, whether it's infinite intelligence, divine spirit, God, universe, love. But there's an awareness that expands and can only expand when we are not pushing or, pushing against. I don't like this thing. I don't like that. I don't like my body this way. I don't like that I'm single, or I don't like that there's been some tension in my relationship. I don't like what's in my bank account or what's not in it. And then we are not able to make welcome, as you so beautifully put, ideas and solutions, or create that alchemy to the awareness of the ideas and solutions. And both of which really, whichever way we describe it, it creates that awareness that we really do have infinite potential and infinite power right here and right now. But I think it really starts from I'm gonna radically love what is. And the reason why I think for me that's been such an important way of putting it, because when I think of I'm just gonna love what is, I would find myself pushing against it. Like, well, how can I love what is? I don't like this. I don't like this thing. How am I gonna love it? Even though I know intellectually you don't have to like something to accept it. But when I put the word radical in there, there's an upheaval, right? Radical meaning there's an upheaval of the current system. So it's radically loving what is. Even though if I was given a magic wand in this moment, I'd be like, I'm gonna change that, right? No, I'm not. It's okay. I'm accepting what it is. And then, as you said, so again, so beautifully, making welcome that which is at the vibrational frequency of which we are seeking, or better put, allowing to come forth. We can't allow it to come forth when we're staring at what we don't like and be like, I don't like that. I don't like that. And we get more of what we don't like because we're just repeating that pattern, and we stay at that vibrational frequency.
Yes.
So powerful, my friend.
Yeah. And you going back to just like our, from the health standpoint in our body, I could easily give different examples of like just, noticing I'm aging, letting that be my focus, whether it be in that particular workout or when I'm looking in the mirror or I'm looking at old photos, and that kind of thing. And I remind myself, if I stay focused on this, it's taking me out. This is basically what you just said, but it's taking me out of the present moment. And what I really want in this moment, if I do love what is, it helps me to come back to the present moment where there is connection with others. And just by means of doing that, it opens me up to have a new experience, to make welcome an idea for something I could do, to shift where I might be, whether it be something physical. And one other quick analogy, if this is helpful, that I've been working with as well, that I love, is, talking about resisting the good that is here by fighting.
Yes.
I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And I had heard this, the analogy of the river. And when it first, starts, it's like a tiny little stream, and it takes a lot of effort. And as it's making its way towards the bigger river and on towards the ocean, all along the way, there's going to be rocks and debris and trees. And the river never stops at the rock or the tree and fights it and tries to remove the rock. It simply flows around on towards its objective. And I realized upon hearing that, all the ways that my paradigms distract me. And it's like I'm trying to remove, I don't like this. I don't like this. I'm mad at this. I don't, and that is just one big distraction. And as I remind myself, wait a minute, what is my objective? I want to be present for my daughter when she's fighting, or I want to have a peaceful interaction with my family when there's tension, or, I want to connect with this person, but, these things are happening or whatever. When I remind myself of the objective, I think that's an example of loving what is and removing my attention off fighting it to that connection that I am seeking. And so that's been another analogy that's helped me to get back on track when I want to try to remove those things that I think I need to remove before I can, have what it is that I'm wanting, which is connection with others usually.
I love that. Blocking the good from coming forth. I think I'm paraphrasing what you said, right? But we're blocking the good from coming forth by pushing against what is. And then it's like it puts blinders on us. We're unable to see the good that's right here and now, because we're so focused on what isn't currently yet, downloaded from the metaphysical or downloaded from, the quantum field. And we're like, well, where's my stuff? Where's my, whatever it is, where's my stuff in the field of relationships or health or vocation or time and money freedom? Where's my stuff? And we're missing all the great stuff, the good that is currently here. And I hear you saying it's through the presence. And I love the analogy of the water and being able to flow, and not that water will just go around. Just go around. It really does remind me, and I know the great teacher Thich Nhat Hanh talks a lot about water and being like water, and he'll have walking meditations, and just being present is, you are highlighting that is something that you are more and more now focused on having, is that presence, and how it is not pushing against, but going with, kind of, going with the flow, going versus it's the non-resistance, right? It's non-resistance, and it is transformative. And actually, it's part of how I came up with this idea of radical love. It's not the first in the universe by any means, but the way that I'm particularly defining it might be a little bit nuanced, to my experience, and my definition might be a little bit different as I'm calling it radical love. But it was through studying many teachers, and one of them is Thich Nhat Hanh. And I think I've shared this with you, my friend, but Taming the Tiger Within. And for me, it was revolutionary when he talks about his book, Taming the Tiger Within, how to overcome difficult emotions is what he calls it. And the idea that when it came to anger, because what I think most of us do is when we feel anger, when we feel that, we go, oh no, I shouldn't feel this. Don't feel anger. Oh. And then there's a push against what is. There's a push against the anger because we're now, maybe condemning ourselves. Anger doesn't feel great, and we're pushing against it. Instead, his concept, the first I'd ever heard of it from Thich Nhat Hanh, was you love that anger. And you think of the anger as a little baby. And you, in the same way, if a baby is crying, you want to go and comfort the baby. So when the anger comes up, you actually tell yourself, it's okay, anger. It's okay. I'm here for you. Oh my gosh. And it was just, many years ago that I discovered this, but it was revolutionary for me to not push against anger, and then it just gets bigger and bigger, but to go, it's okay, anger. I would picture a little kitten. Mm-hmm. I would picture my anger as like a screaming kitten. Yeah. And I'd be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then I would, in that moment, again, because I'm radically loving my anger, I'm radically loving a difficult emotion, or I'm radically loving an emotion that if I could choose, I don't want to be feeling anger right now, but it is what it is. And if I can radically love it, I transcend and transmute. Mm-hmm. And to that elevated awareness that, oh, wait, there's power here if I don't resist and I love what is. So that was definitely part of the genesis of this idea of radical love, put in this way, but many teachers have taught this before. And it is like you're saying, it's like being water. So, observing and then opening yourself to the good that is here, but we can't when we're pushing against what is.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And reminding myself, what is my objective? Mm. My objective is to love myself.
Yes.
To be present, to love others. Yes. And that helps me to stop pushing and get back in the flow.
Yeah, get back in the flow. And mm-hmm. We were talking about this earlier too. So to transition into how your belief system around what success is, because this connects to success and what does success look like. And whereas you really candidly, shared with me earlier that success was once about external approval. And sister, you are not alone in that. I mean, I've been there, and if I'm not diligent, and I think not just women, but men, I think as human race, we are trained to believe this. The external must be a certain way for us to feel good about ourselves, whether it's when we're little and getting the grades, or getting the teacher's approval or getting our parents' approval. But it's that, like, as you had talked about, like that people pleaser. And we have varying degrees of that. But the idea that, okay, I'm going to feel good about myself when X, Y, and Z happens. And so your revelation through your recent birthday and all the work that you've been doing, that is not what success really is. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Well, thank you. Yes. And just with turning 50, some other situations happening, things around me, and it just reminding me how quickly life is, how quickly it passes, and that the awareness of what really matters most. When I put my head on the pillow for the last time, what will have mattered most? And what will have mattered most is, the connection, the impact that I had in the lives that are most important to me, and primarily my immediate family, my husband and my daughters, that we have been gifted the privilege of walking through this life together, seeing it for the gift and the privilege that it is. And that I want to be present for all of that, to not only give the love that I desire to give to my husband and to my daughters, but to also receive the love and allow that love in that they have for me, that's what real success is having been present, for the people in my life that matter most. And as well, having been present for the family members that I have in my life, when I think about my vision for who I want to be in the area of relationships, that the kind of contribution that I want to give in life is, being connected with others and making a difference in the lives of others. So I think about my family members and showing up and being fully present for them, for the people that I have the privilege of working with, from the clients I get to work with, the people that I collaborate with, that I was fully present and being my authentic self. And when I can do that in those moments, that's what real success is. And loving myself, even while, I'm making mistakes, I'm not being perfect. The other people may not agree with what it is that I'm saying. They may have feelings about it, but that I was being my authentic self and bringing, my full attention and my sincere love and care. And at the end of the day, that's what will matter most to me, and up until now, I was distracted from all of that because I did, really, constantly seek out the approval of others, and feeling like when I have this, then I'll be able to really love myself. And I know intellectually that the more that I keep seeking that outside approval, I'm going to continue to keep seeking it. So with facts and conditions as they are, this is my opportunity now, to fully love what is, and to let go of that worry and doubt and fear, so that I can not miss the great moment that this is, that I have with this person, whatever that moment is. So that's what I have come to realize is what true success is to me.
How beautiful that you have that awareness.
Yes.
As we talked about when we lay our head on the pillow for the last time, and another great saying from our mentor Mary Morrissey is, some people live 90 years and some people live the same year 90 times. So they would never, some people, they're never going to have that awareness that you have, that I have, that everybody listening, that we're having, and taking that action from that energy of knowing that. And I think it also connects to, I was remembering earlier when you beautifully said, when my my fitness coach, right, when my trainer said, no, you're capable of so much more, that you got, humany woomany, you got a little teared up, you got choked up. There was some tears there because, and I believe it's because you were remembering who you really are. But we can forget, and he was able to shine that light of awareness on you, and you're capable of so much more. And it got you into alignment with who you really are. And I love the, coming from the teachings of Abraham Hicks, where they talk about, and we've talked about this before, where if we're feeling that discontent, if we're feeling critical with ourselves or somebody else, or what is, it's because we're out of alignment with our inner being. We're out of alignment with the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are is we are loved right here and right now. Not when somebody else's approval we are given that, or, when we accomplish X, Y, and Z. And of course, you and I both know life is ever seeking a freer, fuller, as you said earlier, more expanded version of itself as expressed through us. So we're always wanting to grow and being on our leading edge and moving beyond that discomfort. So it's not like, well, so radical love means I'm just going to sit on my couch for the rest of my life. It's not that, but it's taking action from that energy of knowing I'm doing this because I want to and I love it, but not because I'm seeking somebody else's approval, because that never lasts, right? Yeah. It's a Band-Aid. You've been there, I've been there. I get the thing, I get the degree, I get the grades. And if I'm not cognizant of who I really am, if Stephanie's not cognizant of who she really is, powerful, infinite potential, or anybody listening, we could go, oh, okay, well, what's next? It's like a drug. Where else can I get that approval, right? Mm-hmm. If we don't have our own foundation of knowing.
And the truth is, there's been many times where I've gotten tons of, praise, for significant things,
Yeah.
where people said, wow, this was awesome. You should be so happy. And as I reflect on those, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. Even if that comes in, what matters most is what I think and
Yes.
what I believe.
Yes.
And by me making that ongoing decision, as you said, you've got to continue to decide
Right.
to, on a daily basis, to love yourself, to accept yourself, so that you can keep moving forward. Although it's wonderful to get that praise, if you don't believe it yourself, if you're not practicing it yourself, then it's just the next thing and the next thing, and no change is really taking place.
Yeah.
The illusion is I will feel better, I will have, if I get this,
Yeah.
but that never happens, because it starts, with us making that internal decision.
That shift. Illusion. That's it. It's an illusion. It's an illusion. And I think of it as like, I liken it to like a Band-Aid. We've got this wound, right? One of my favorite quotes, I've said it before, is Rumi, from the great Persian mystic poet. The wound is where the light enters us. But we have this wound, and I think it's a wound of us forgetting who we are. It's a wound of us thinking we need that external approval, and then we get a Band-Aid. Oh, you're so good, Stephanie. Good job, Corey. Band-Aid. But the wound doesn't heal unless it's coming from us. Right? In that foundation. And as you said, recognizing, well, that's an illusion. That's the perfect word for it. It's an illusion. Okay, fun question. Have you seen Captain Marvel? Because this totally connects.
I haven't.
Okay, girl, you got it. Okay. I don't know. We've never talked about sci-fi and like superhero movies, so I don't know if it's really your jam. How about the girls? Do they like superhero sci-fi movies?
My husband does, but not the girls that I'm aware of.
Okay, we might need to get them on board, because I'm going to give you my argument, and I'll put my professor hat on, like talking about argumentation and writing and stuff. But it has been so powerful for me to see superhero women. For the first one, well, I mean, there's been 3, but Wonder Woman. Yes.
I saw Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman.
Girl.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Wasn't that beautiful?
I've seen it at least 3 times.
Yes.
Yeah,
I teach that in one of my classes. I teach that because, I'm always trying to plant seeds with my students, but I love how powerful she is. We could talk about this forever. But the ending, I mean, remarkable. Her whole thing is, how do we heal the world? Love. Love. She's a powerful female superhero. She's a, part God. And she's about love. Oh my goodness, that was such a beautiful film. And then, and I think it's just so important when I'm looking at this through the academic lens and my students, and coming from different backgrounds, and backgrounds that are less served, and different socioeconomic classes and ethnicities and such, that it's important for them to see first of all, to see women of color. So of course, Black Panther. Fantastic and powerful. All of the warriors in Wakanda, the warriors that were there to protect the king, were all female. Oh my gosh. Woo! And so Captain Marvel. The reason why I think why I believe this connects, and why I just want your girls to see this, because I think it's important for us to be able to actually have an image of powerful women. Right? Not just in the ethers of like, sure, things are possible, but actually see it, that really gets into our consciousness, our subconscious, and our nervous system. But there's a scene, so my husband and I were rewatching it. That's why I'm a little bit excited. We were rewatching it last night, and there is a scene in there, oh my gosh, so if you haven't seen it, this isn't going to be too much of a spoiler, but definitely, for everybody listening, and Steph, it won't be too much of a spoiler, but there's a point where somebody says to Captain Marvel, right, as she's finally learned her powers and coming to accept her powers, it said, prove to me, he says, show me that, there's a guy, says, show me that you can do this. And she just takes care of him in the blink of an eye, in the way that she wants to. And she walks up to him and says, I don't have anything to prove to you. And I just think that's such a remarkable thing, because as humans, and I think definitely as women, we come from that, well, let me prove to people that I'm worthy. And she's just standing in her awesomeness, in her power, going, I have nothing to prove to you. And it's such a remarkable moment that I think really connects to what we're talking about. Because when we come from that energy, well, we are unstoppable, right? We are grounded in spirit. We're grounded in who we know that we are to be. We're in alignment with our inner being. And we're like, I got nothing to prove to nobody. And if you want to give me accolades, fantastic, but I don't need it because I know who I am. But it's not an arrogance, but it's a calm confidence. And I feel like that's what you've been talking about.
Well, and that life can really do its job and flow through.
Yes.
When we're making that decision, because when we're trying to prove, we're acting out of fear. And anytime we act out of fear, we're placing ourselves and others in a position to be hurt, but when we're being true and in alignment with, this is who I am, this is who I'm choosing to be, then we're an open channel for not only our good, but for everybody's good, by means of us loving ourselves, letting go of that approval, and letting life happen through us in a more empowered way, I believe.
So empowered. Beautifully said. And the recognition that we've been talking about lately is, if when we are being diligent with the doorways of our mind, but if anything seeps in, I know for me, so I can remember, okay, rather than, am I getting X, Y, and Z or approval, or is this, but rather, and this is something my mom taught me when I was really young, but, stop thinking about yourself. Like when I would, when I'd be really little and like, I'm going to go to a party and what are they going to think about me? And as adults, we can still do that, right? This is not just a little kid. We can go to a party and be like, oh, do I look okay? And are they going to think am I going to say the right thing? And she would say, take your mind off yourself and focus on the human being in front of you. Give them love and be present and ask them about themselves. And it was always like, it was remarkable. Like, well, gosh, and I could see the transformation within the human being in front of me, where they could also relax and go, oh, well, sure, let me tell you about me. And we'd have that human connection. So in other words, not what can I get, but what can I give? What can I give here? What presence, as you talked about so beautifully at the beginning of our conversation, the presence. And when we have that presence within us, and we can share that with our family, our friends, and strangers.
Yeah. And just to repeat that around the whole thing of alchemy and transcending, when we, just the practice of loving what is, you wake up in the morning and you're not, for whatever reason, you're just feeling off, you're not feeling good, you're feeling insecure, whatever it is, just be acknowledging it, not fighting it and getting mad at yourself that you're feeling that way, but loving what is and making that decision. I am going to give love today. I'm going to lean in and I'm going to connect. I'm going to bring my very best to this situation. And that when we do get outside of ourselves and we do bring that love and care, there is an alchemy. And you look back after the party or after the meeting or after, and you're like, wow, I could not have thought my way through that. It was a decision and something transformed. The energy, was moved to have the experience that I believe are all wanting to have, which is just connection.
Yes.
And it starts, with like that decision. I'm going to accept where I am. I don't like it, but it doesn't mean that I can't, show up for this friend, go to that party, be there for my daughter or my son or my spouse or my partner. And by means of deciding I'm going to give love, I'm worthy of love and I'm going to give love, it does create that mutation or whatever you called, to have a whole different experience than the usual experience of just staying in the circle of like feeling bad, either about yourself or about the situation or whatever.
It's
So
powerful.
yeah.
I know. And I'm thinking about that too. I was thinking about that the other day. If you've ever had the experience where you are feeling that kind of like that off state, like you said, you wake up and you feel off, or you're feeling like, I'm just feeling off balance today. And then you go, hopefully, ideally, we're loving what is and we're not pushing against it. Sometimes, we don't do it perfectly. But then if you run in, maybe you're going to go on an errand and you run into somebody, or you've got to get ready to go somewhere. And then, they're like, how are you? You're like, I'm good. Oh, I'm good. And you just say, oh no, things are good. And the next thing you know, you're actually feeling better because you've talked yourself into it, because we are not holding on to that story of, well, this is not good. I feel low. Why? Why do I feel low? What am I not doing? Oh, let me eke that out. Let me just dig that out and kill it. And oh no, I should know better. Oh my gosh, talk about the seductive. You and I have been studying transformation for decades, and that is a seductive one. We're like, oh, Corey, you should know better. Maybe you, Stephanie, you should know better. You've been studying these things. Oh, and if I'm not cognizant, I will drink that Kool-Aid and be like, that's right. I should know better. Let me go beat myself up, these Delilah thoughts some more. Yeah. So, both of those, like being cognizant of that, and also just knowing we can put it on, and how cool that is. And sometimes you go to the party, like, I'm good. And then unless I pick it back up, like, actually, I feel better. Oh, so just another, I think, testament to the power that we have.
Yes. Yeah. The power of our decision to put our attention in a place that feels more loving, more empowering.
Exactly. And speaking of which, this has been such a loving and empowering conversation, my friend. Stephanie, this has been beautiful. I am so grateful. My heart is just grateful for you and for being so open and vulnerable and making time in your beautiful, robust schedule to be here and share your wisdom, your experience, your strength, your hope. And not only has it served me, I know it served everybody that's listening. Are there any final thoughts that you want to share, or anything you're thinking before we bring this wonderful chat to a landing?
Well, I just want to, just reiterate, that at any given moment we can start fresh, that the only moment that we can transform is the moment that we're in. Yeah. And the illusion that, when conditions change, when this happens, then, but as we notice what we're noticing, and we're in that moment where we have that choice, to get mad at ourselves or not love what is, that's the moment to say, this is my moment to transform it. And I am transforming, and I'm getting better and better at it. That it is not a one-time thing, that it's a process, but that as we get better and better with those moment-to-moment decisions, it gets easier and easier, and to just keep going and keep connecting in with wonderful content like this and other transformational material that reminds us of the truth. Yes. So that we are empowered to start again in the next moment and the next moment.
Empowered to start again in the next moment and the next moment. That is it. That is it. So let me ask you how, because we're going to have listeners that want to contact you. Best way to contact you, Steph, is
either through, ideally through email, probably. You can email me at Stephanie, which is STEPHANIE at Core Factor TC. That's T as in Tom, C as in Charlie, corefactortc.com. And that's the quickest way to connect with me. And I will reply back and reach out to you.
Beautiful. So. And also your website. We've got the Core Factor website where they can see your upcoming events and things such as.
Yes. That's corefactortc.com.
Awesome. corefactortc.com. And I'll have those links as well on our YouTube channel and potentially on the iTunes. There's a limited number there, but you'll have that there as well, so they can reach out and to be a part of your brilliance.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you for the honor to be here today. It's been wonderful getting to talk on this topic and connect with everybody. So thank you so much for the gift of getting to be here and sharing this with you.
Thank you, my friend. It's been really such a delight and honor to get to hear from you again, your wisdom and your spirit, and just so much fun hanging out with you. It's always so much fun. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
For such a pleasure. And for everybody listening, for my friends listening, just please, I hope that you remember to radically love yourself right where you are. That is my invitation to you. And as always, as you move into the rest of your day, your afternoon, or your evening, I hope that you love big, that you be brave, and that you share your beautiful, unique light with the world. Bye for now. Ahui ho. Bye.
Bye-bye.